Thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is Tori McIntosh. And before I get started, I want to confirm that you can see my slides and everything is good to go.
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So my name is Tori McIntosh. I am a white woman with long brown hair. I have bangs and I am in my 30s. Today, I am wearing a black collared shirt with a white North Dakota Space Grant logo on the left shoulder. My pronouns are she, her. I would like to thank SciAccess for hosting this conference and inviting us to present. If anyone would like to download a PDF of our slides, you can use the QR code that is on this slide, and one of my team members will also put the slide deck PDF link in the chat box. With that, I will get started with our presentation. So welcome everyone to the IDEAS project. The acronym IDEAS stands for Innovative, Differentiated Exploration Activities in Space Science. Through the IDEAS project, a team of formal and informal education professionals are continuing to identify adaptations for NASA and STEM hands-on activities following universal design concepts. Today, the IDEAS team will be sharing space science lesson techniques and adaptations we have learned throughout our experiences with exceptional students at hands-on workshops and with educators and parents. The adaptations we offer are suggestions, but we hope they can create successful and engaging outcomes for you and your students. Our slides today will be white with dark blue text and include photos. This slide lists our team members. Currently, our team consists of 6 women: Maria Royle, me, Tori McIntosh, Caitlin Milera, Marissa Sad, Joby Cook, and Cass Runyon. All of us work in formal and informal STEM education settings. I will now hand it over to Cass Runyon. She will discuss the IDEAS project as a whole and where it began, before Marissa discusses general techniques and adaptations for STEM lessons. Oh, Cass, you are muted.
Sorry, thanks. Not enough coffee this morning. First off, I am many moons old. I've got slightly reddish brown hair. It's curly, naturally curly. I've got freckles and lots of wrinkles, and I am wearing a black turtleneck with a tie-dyed scarf. And I'm happy to be joining you all this morning to talk about our IDEAS project. So where did it begin? It's actually a spinoff of a series of NASA-funded workshops that took place over a series of about 7 to 10 years, where we brought together a team of scientists and engineers, formal and informal educators, librarians, parents, and actually some students with different disabilities. When Dr. Beacon was mentioning what SciAccess is, I think, wow, that's what we used to do and what IDEAS is continuing to do. Together over the series of years, the workshop series, we ran through existing and much older STEM curricula that related to NASA content, such as aeronautics, early eclipse things, planetary science, and so forth. And while doing so, we donned and doffed simulators during the content presentation, where we got background information, and then also during the activities and demonstrations that we were doing, so that we could identify what worked and what didn't work, what may need to be changed or deleted, and so forth. All with the intent of the early universal design to make science and technology, et cetera, accessible for all. Unfortunately, our funding ran out in 2007, but that didn't stop the project. We continued to do workshops, and the cover of the summary of all of these workshops is illustrated on this slide. Our years of experience in workshops ended up in this publication, Space Science is for Everyone, Lessons from the Field, and I believe there's a link there on the slide. Next slide, Tori, please. So, in the beginning, as I mentioned, our workshops didn't stop at the end of the NASA funding. Instead, especially for the eclipse in 2017, we did a lot of workshops. And shown on the left in this image is a woman who had recently gone blind and couldn't remember the order of the planets and so forth. And so we worked in teams at this workshop at the State Library to build models of the Earth, Moon, Sun system, and then enact or model the eclipse parameters and so forth. And then shown on the right is another fun workshop that our team was able to participate in at Space Center Houston, where we worked with a group of low vision and blind students from across the country who came together to learn about space science. And here they're actually purchasing, if you will, their materials to build a rocket. By the end of the week of this workshop camp, they had to launch a rocket successfully and get their payload back to Earth. And happy to say most of them did, not everybody. Next slide. In addition to these workshops and testing activities in space science, a team of colleagues of mine and I have been publishing these tactile books. Illustrated here are just 2 covers from 2 of the 8 books we have so far, Getting a Feel for Lunar Craters, and then the recent South American Eclipse book. If you can go to the next slide, Tori. This is an illustration of what just one of the tactile pages looks like. We're calling it 2.5D because it's not full 3-dimension, but it's not just a flat 2-dimension either. And some of the fun that we're having with our ideas team is the North Dakota folks have put together a escape room concept, and they're using these books and several other activities that are fully accessible for students who are blind in North Dakota, and we're working to take it across the country. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marissa to share what else Ideas is doing.
Thank you so much, Cass. Good morning, everybody. My name's Marissa Sad. I identify as a white woman in my 30s, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. Today, I have light brown hair and a blue collared shirt on. And most importantly, I am so privileged to work with this great team of passionate advocates and happy to share all of the collaborations and the people involved on this project. First, if you don't know about Space Grant, the national program is comprised of 52 different consortia, and we all work together and try to help impact learners all across the nation. So for this Ideas workshop, we have the North Carolina, South Carolina, and North Dakota Space Grant Consortia teaming up with the Charleston County School District and NASA to provide all of these inclusive and accessible best practices and adaptations for existing NASA lesson plans. And now please forward to the next slide, where I'm going to give an overview of some adaptations that we've done. So the first resource is how we looked back to our own local networks, and we worked with all of our state schools for the blind. It's a great resource. The educators here featured in the pictures, the North Dakota Vision Services and School for the Blind, helped us engage 9 young students in the picture on the left, and they're doing a scalar representation of the solar system. And at the center, there's a solar system, has an inflatable sun. It's really big. It's about 3 foot wide, and it has tactile lines of longitude. So the student who stood here at the sun would hold bells and shake them to indicate where the starting point of the solar system was. And as each student represented a planet, they could hear the distance increase while holding their own object. We also brought different teaching tools with us to these workshops, like the tactile Solar Eclipse book that Cass just mentioned. And this is in the picture on the right. So here, 3 young students are holding a whiteboard, and this is the size of a piece of printer paper. It has 3 layers sandwiched right on top of each other. So the bottom layer is painted yellow, and that represents the sun. The second layer, which is black and is rough like sandpaper, it can be slid left and right across, representing the moon. And the very top layer has a circle cut out of it, and that allows students to touch down into the second layer, and then they're able to feel the moon eclipsing the sun while they can move it themselves while reading labels that are printed in Braille. And it was really, really cool to hear the excitement as they explored the eclipse. And these 2 pictures are back from 2017. So it was very exciting leading up to August. And I think we will move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. Another fun activity that we did at the School for the Blinds is, and also it's applicable for anyone preparing lessons on the upcoming eclipses, And this one helps students explore the size comparison of the Earth compared to the sun. And so in this image on the screen, 2 students are on the ground and they're kneeling around, and they're on a 5 to 6 foot wide tablecloth. And on this cloth is pinned, there's a thumbtack pinned, and we have as the exact same comparison, the size comparison of the Earth with the sun. And if you're interested in this activity, we're more than happy to provide the measurements. And just something to keep in mind, we usually put this tablecloth up on the wall, but in this picture, it's on the ground, because if it's on the wall, it increases all accessibility. Next slide, please. Excuse me. So our team has also learned a lot from the NASA workshops and all the partners in education that we've worked with. And here are a few more resources that are based in Universal Design for Learning. And again, I'll reiterate that we offer them to you as suggestions. We love your own feedback too. So this image on the screen features 2 young students sitting at the table at VisU, the one in Space Center Houston that Cass just talked about. And now these 2 boys are using an iPad, and they use that to act like a magnifying glass. And they're able to pinch the screen to zoom in and out while they super glue a piece of their rocket. Really innovative, and it was great to see them use all the tools. So next slide, please. All right, so we also learned that all activities, all of the NASA lesson plans that we were adapting, they should have written instructions for both the teachers and students. This could be in the form of a slideshow, using index cards or paper handouts. This is great for UDL, and it benefits everybody, all learners. And we've learned that you should include text at least in a size 18 to 20 and use a sans serif font. And for students with dyslexia, we encourage the use of Dyslexie. It's a free downloadable font, and you can see the difference on the screen. There are 2 sentences, and you can compare them. One is in Calibri, it's a sans serif font, and one using Dyslexie. And if you're interested in downloading this specific typeface, we have it linked on the slide on our that you see here, and we're happy to send it to you. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So in addition to providing text, we recommend using pictorial instructions. And to do so, our team, we love to use Canva. It's a free app online, or Adobe products. The infographic style type images that you see here are used specifically for NASA's sound effects lesson plan. And perhaps some of you can already figure out what the activity might be based around. Where there are pictures on the screen of a tablet, a paper tube, some scissors, and cups. So if you haven't guessed it now, they're making a speaker. So the specific sound effects activity, it's based on learning about the physics of sound and waves and vibrations to students. And they're able to design their own systems with easy to manipulate materials. And we use iPads, these paper tubes, and really large cups. And some of these adaptations include vibrotactiles, where students can crank up the volume on their tablet or their iPhone or this large device and place their hands on nearby things like balloons and feathers, or see glitter jump around due to the large base. And there's also free sonograph apps that you can download on your tablets. And this helps students who are deaf really see the sound waves. And again, the universally designed activity is perfect for all learners. Next slide, please. One last suggestion I have is to use any free text-to-speech or talk-to-text tools that you find on the App Store. And these are great for all STEM lesson plans, and they engage students in teamwork and communication, keeping everyone involved. And we have a resource here on the slide, and we can send that to you if you're interested as well. Now I will pass it off to Tori McIntosh.
Great, thank you, Marissa. Okay, so now I will suggest some adaptations for NASA's Paper Airplanes activity. This activity is exciting for students. It discusses a brief history of flights and then asks students to create airplanes out of different materials. Throughout this activity, students discover the 4 forces of flight: lift, weight, drag, and thrust. And students also explore flight time and distance. Keeping with the general modifications Marissa just suggested, I made pictorial directions for students that want to create a plane out of styrofoam. The links to the original NASA lesson plan and the pictorial directions I created in Adobe Illustrator can be found on the slide. If you open the slide deck in PDF format, all underlined text within the slides are links that will take you to these resources. In this slide, there is a photo of the styrofoam airplane I created on the right side of the screen. Using styrofoam to create an airplane could allow students with limited mobility to better handle the pieces because styrofoam is a material that's both lightweight and firm. Styrofoam also has a unique texture that allows it to be etched. You can use a wooden stylus or a pencil to create doors or windows on the airplane, and these etched pieces could allow students with low vision to feel the doors, windows, and other details on that airplane. To create a styrofoam airplane, you will print out the PDF of pieces as seen at the top left corner of the slide. You will cut the 4 pieces out with a scissors. Then you will lay the pieces onto a styrofoam tray. The pieces can be traced on the styrofoam tray with a pencil or a wooden stylus. After they are traced, they can be cut out with a tracing wheel. There's a picture of a tracing wheel on the bottom left corner of the slide. Alternatively, a sharp pencil or a wooden stylus could be used to etch the pieces until they separate from the tray. Once all the pieces are cut and etched out of the styrofoam, they will be assembled. And again, the pictorial directions I created has steps as to how to assemble that styrofoam airplane. After creating the airplane, students will fly their airplanes and record its distance traveled. We found styrofoam airplanes fly well when a penny is attached to the nose of the airplane with a paper clip. And to measure how far an airplane has flown, and so students can see and feel the distance traveled, you can create a graph. In the past, we've created a graph by rolling out a long piece of paper and creating a large ruler on top of it. And we used painter's tape to create a more tactile ruler so students can feel along the graph. So this slide on the right, the photo shows what one of those large rulers and graphs look like. We recently created one. And once your large graph or ruler is finished, it can be hung on the wall. Each time an airplane is flown, measure its distance with string and then attach the pieces of string to the graph and ruler that is on the wall. Large yarn works best for measuring, and having that large graph with each airplane's flown distance measured out in yarn can provide students with low vision the chance to feel distances flown by the airplane and have access to a tactile graph. And here is the slide with the resources for the paper airplanes activity. This slide includes links to the original lesson plan, the pictorial directions, the PDF of the pieces, and then links to where you can purchase all of the supplies. And remember, these resources are suggestions, and as a consumer and an educator, you should decide what is best for you and your students. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kaylin so she can discuss our rover races adaptations.
Thanks, Tori. Hello, my name is Caitlin Milera. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman in my mid-30s with short brown hair, which is up in a bun today. I'm wearing glasses and a navy blue polo with a white North Dakota Space Grant logo on the left shoulder. And I will be talking about the rover races activity and adaptations. In this NASA activity, students work together to record a set of instructions which will be relayed to other students who will be acting as a rover on Mars, navigating along the Martian surface. This activity is largely focused on the processes involved in engineering a communications protocol and can serve as an introductory activity to basic programming and communication. Next slide, please. Pictured here is the obstacle course that we designed at NASA Langley this past August, using blue and lime green tape to indicate edges of the path for the rover, and including cones in various colors and soccer balls and basketballs to stimulate obstacles for the rover. So basically, students are tasked with pacing out the rover path, recording instructions, and then handing these instructions over to the team of students who act as the rover, with the end goal of navigating the path by staying within the bounds, appropriately collecting samples, and avoiding any obstacles. Lessons learned in practicing this activity include the following adaptations. The first is to ensure that the width of the path created for the obstacle course is wide enough to accommodate wheelchair users, especially around any turns or obstacles. Edges of the course could be designated with rope or string boundaries off of the floor in place of tape so that the path can be felt. The edge of the path could also be designated using rumble strips or cable protectors instead of tape that lies flat on the floor, so students can feel when they are out of bounds. And tape that is a color in high contrast to the floor can also aid a student with low vision in better determining the outer edges of the path. Next slide, please. An additional adaptation is to incorporate grabbers or other tools when students are unable to pick up rock samples. This may be of help to students with limited mobility. Rock samples can vary in weight and material for students. For example, you can use styrofoam balls, tinfoil, or beach balls. Rock samples can be tall objects like cones to accommodate students in wheelchairs. Pictured here is an educator on our team using a grabber to pick up a crumpled piece of pink paper representing a rock sample on Mars. Next slide, please. When students are navigating the Martian surface obstacle course, they may choose to record these instructions on note cards or using technology. Instructions can be written on the note cards and handed to the student one at a time, much like a rover on Mars may read one line of code at a time when navigating the Martian surface. To engage more students or even multiple classes, the student who is acting as the rover can hold a smartphone or tablet that takes forward-facing pictures. These pictures can be sent to the students back on Earth who will not be able to see the obstacle course. The instructor could also incorporate a time delay to better simulate the Earth to Mars waiting period of signals. Instructors could set up a shared Google document where the rover pastes in pictures of Mars to the entire class, who can decide what further directions they should provide. To increase engagement, students could also act as the signal themselves, delivering a video recording of the instructions in person. Next slide, please. Included on this slide are links to the original lesson plan, as well as purchase options for some of the materials used. I will now pass the presentation back over to Tori.
Thank you, Caitlin. So in this slide, we will discuss ideas and ongoing projects. So here, this slide has a photo of the ideas team in the studio, including Noodle, Maria's certified hearing dog. This past summer, ideas team members from South Carolina, North Carolina, and North Dakota Space Grant traveled to NASA Langley and recorded adaptations that can be made to existing NASA lesson plans. We worked with NASA's Office of STEM Engagements and NASA Langley's media production team while we were on site. It's hoped our recordings with the suggested adaptations will become part of the existing NASA lesson plan videos, allowing educators to access individual NASA lesson activities along with all of their suggested adaptations in one place. And while at the studio, we recorded suggested adaptations for rover races, paper airplanes, and sound effects. And while in the studio, Ideas team member Maria Royle recorded the My NASA data project she created during her time as a NASA intern, as it encompasses universal design methods. I will now turn the presentation over to Maria, and she will discuss the My NASA data project.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria. I am a Latina woman, short gray hair, in my mid-50s. I am hard of hearing with a profound hearing loss. The slide that we are showing right now describes the front page of My NASA Data website. The My NASA Data website is another example of how NASA wants to make science accessible to everyone using a UDL design and DEIA, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. My NASA data provides lessons and activities to help students analyze data related to Earth science. The resources found on My NASA data cover different topics related to the Earth system, for example, atmosphere, biosphere, and cryosphere. The data collected on this website comes from satellites that orbit our Earth. Next slide, Tori, please. This slide shows two images. On the left-hand side is the template of a data literacy cube. On the right-hand side, you see a question sheet set that goes with the lessons for the cubes. The website provides a resource called Data Literacy Cube. This was recently adapted to help educators create lessons related to the interpretation and analysis of graphs, data, and tables. The adaptations include one cube, that teachers can build, and different size cubes can be built to help support the students' needs. The cube is used with a set of question sheets to help guide students who have a learning disability or who are multilingual learners. The question sheets have different levels to help differentiate instruction. Next slide, Tori, please. So this slide shows the different types of levels, and these question sheets have levels to help differentiate instruction. The levels are provided by Lexile levels and by language proficiency levels, so that regardless of which type of data analysis the teacher utilizes, all of the students can participate in the instructional lesson. The adaptations also include fonts that help with readability for those who are dyslexic, low vision, or colorblind. I'll pass it back to Tori.
Thanks, Maria. So in the future, it is hoped that all the footage that IDEA's team recorded at NASA Langley will feature interpreters for effective communication. Here on the left side, you can see a photo of our interpreters, Bach and Kumar, who are 2 native signers and certified deaf interpreters, as well as sign language or hearing interpreters, Judith and Teresa, whose pictures are on the bottom. The deaf interpreters and hearing interpreters will work as a team to effectively interpret and communicate the footage we recorded. Also, a new tactile book titled Earth, A Tactile View of the Blue Marble is ready to be shipped. And if you would like a copy, you can contact Cass Runyon. We will have all our contact information on the last slide. Following the release of the videos and inclusion of interpreter videos to complement our content, the plan for 2022 is to begin conducting professional educator development workshops and to implement adaptations to existing NASA and space science lesson plans. This slide has a photo of a woman exploring a NASA tactile book at a previous educator workshop. And with that, I believe we have 2 minutes left. Sorry, I went so quickly past the last few slides. Again, we have our slide deck in PDF format, and we have all of our contact information here on the bottom left corner. Our information is listed in the order in which we spoke. And with that, with I think our 1 to 2 minutes left, if there are any reflections or questions that you have, we are here to share and listen.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for that fantastic start of our day. We're so happy that we got to begin day 2 learning about those amazing resources. I do have one question here asking a little bit more to learn a little bit more about how to obtain some of those tactile books. If someone wanted some of those tactile books, where would they go to get those?
Cass, can you help us out with that question?
You bet. Go ahead and email me, please, runyonc@cofc.edu. And I need your specific mailing address, not a post office box, and we will get those in the mail to you. At least the ones that are available right now. Some are out of print, unfortunately.
Fantastic. Out of curiosity, which ones are currently available?
We still have some from the 2017 eclipse, and we're going to be updating the actual eclipse, the path across the United States. We've got the eclipse, Apollo commemorative. It's lunar craters and what the Apollo program did for the 50th anniversary of Apollo. What else? And the Earth book just came out, and I need to check inventories for other stuff. But I know those, at least those 3 are there. And we also have a new book on light pollution.
Fantastic. That's so great to hear. And I see we do have a few other questions, but Cass, it looks like you already got to them here in the Q&A. So if anyone else does have other questions come up, feel free to type them here. We have people clapping in the Q&A and getting some nice comments in my messages here as well. So I want to thank you all so much for being here with us today and for sharing this amazing work.